Get ready to get ready. Coming to you live from the MFG studios in the heart of America's summer golf capital. We help you play better golf. It's time to get your game on and take it deep. This is the Mike Fay Golf Show. Here's your host, Mike Fay.
Welcome, everybody, to the Mike Fay Golf Show, and this is episode 2 of Making It to Scotland. In fact, our episode was so big we had to split it up into 2 parts. This show is about Scotland, how we got there, our buddies' trip, where we played, where we stayed, the people we met, and all kinds of fun. Some of the golf courses we've never heard of, and they were absolutely fantastic. So, you can also subscribe to not only iTunes, but also YouTube and see a video of this. And we wanted to show you some of the sites that we saw and experience Scotland like we saw it. So, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mike Fay Golf, as well as on iTunes with the podcast. And without further ado, this is part 2 of Making It to Scotland, already in progress. Okay, next day.
Next day, so Monday was another day we tried to get in on the ballot. We planned 3 days in the ballot to get into the ballot, and if we got one, 1 was great, 2 was fantastic. If we got all 3 days, we needed to buy some national lottery tickets over there. But so Monday we didn't get in the ballot, and so we had a couple of choices. We had previously looked at doing the Jubilee. The other course at St. Andrews we haven't played yet is the Castle course. And then there was a third one, which was called Ely Golf Club. Now, the nice thing about when you're going around these golf courses and at the Dunvegan at night is you can talk to the locals. You can talk to the caddies, talk to the other pros, and then talk to some of the other people in the Dunvegan. You're sitting there and you're having a pint. Or you're having dinner and you're talking to people from Norway, from Sweden, also from the United States and other parts of the United Kingdom, and you're learning all about other places to play, and you hear all sorts of different opinions on each course. The Jubilee is pretty well regarded. The Castle course is one of those you love it or leave it golf courses, and that kind of factored into the decision making as far as where we wanted to play on Monday. But everybody talked about Ely, and we're like, okay, well, this is one of those courses that we need to look into. And we called down there, and we were able to get a nice tee time mid to late morning, I believe, if I remember right. It was 11:40 or something along those lines, and so it allowed for us to have a nice calm breakfast. We didn't have to rush up in the morning. We weren't trying to get 36 holes in. And we were excited to go to a new place. And so Ely, the neat thing about Ely, and hopefully we'll get a photo of this up there, the first tee is really special. It's probably the highlight of the golf course, although we found out later on that there were more highlights to be seen. But the first hole, the neat thing is you go in and you talk to the starter, and you pay your green fees and you get the lay of the land about how the course is routed, and then you see behind him, you see a periscope, and it's fantastic. Some historical background of it. There was a experimental submarine called the HMS Excalibur, I believe, and in 1955 it had been commissioned, and when it was decommissioned, the periscope was, I believe, purchased by the club, or was at least obtained by the club, and that became their lookout for the first hole, because the first hole is basically hitting into a green grass wall with one little marker. One little black and white fairway marker as far as serving as some guidance for you.
Yeah, big hill. I mean, you don't know where you're going. It was pretty neat to sit there in the golf shop and check and see where your ball's going to go.
Yeah, so we, and the nice thing is, of course, the starters there, or the PGA professional that was there was quite helpful as far as getting us going. But at the same time, he goes, "Hey, come on back here, and you can see what we're looking at." And so this way, he knows when it's clear to hit, and it's a fully functioning. You're in there, moving it around,
grabbing onto the handle.
It was fantastic, and it was just that little extra that was like, okay, right off the bat, this is a neat place to play. Then we got on the golf course. golf course is tough.
Yeah.
We had, I'd say, average moderate winds were probably 15 to 20 miles an hour. Nothing that was, just, bear down and try to hold on to things. But the course routed really nice. The conditions were fantastic. And it's a tale of two nines there. The first 9 holes has a little bit of hills, and then some really, a few short par 4s that will, grab your attention if you miss it in the wrong spot. But once you get onto the back 9, the 10th and 11th and 12th holes route around on the water, and they may not be, 10 and 11 may not be long holes, but they each have a little bit of character to them. They're almost like they squeezed whatever they could into these 2 holes to put, a short par 4 and a short par 3. But again, with the wind blowing a little bit, it made for a little bit of a challenge for each one of us in the group. Then the back 9 started, and from the 12th hole to the 18th hole was probably the toughest stretch of golf we had seen all. I would argue that's probably the toughest stretch of golf we saw on the entire trip.
Yeah, the wind, all uphill, wind in your face. The big things that I bring back familiarly, like you said, the back 9 was tough, and the views. I mean, this place was gorgeous.
Yeah.
How pretty it was on the water there, and we got some fantastic shots of it, and we'll show them to you. Wow, it was impressive.
Yeah, it was one of those courses where all of us walked off and we didn't know what to expect when we started, but to a person, everybody was like, this is in our rotation now. This is a course that we need to make sure that we play every time we come over here. It was great, and that's the whole thing about Scotland. There's so many golf courses that are over there. Believe me, there's probably, I think they said 75 or so on the eastern coast. We've only played probably about about 15 of them now over the last 5 years. There's so many other stories that are out there, and that's what we loved. It was going off you go off a little bit of the beaten path. It's 25 minutes away from by car or so from the St. Andrews area. So it's not like you're traveling all day to play a course that you're not sure about. Listen to the locals when you're over there. Listen to people who've played there, and that's sometimes the best knowledge you can gain on these trips.
Ely was a star on this trip. All right, next day.
Yeah. Next day was the last of the 36 hole days. It was also the last day that Joe was with us on this particular trip. He had a little bit of tighter work schedule this time than the last. So we did. We decided the first trip we did, we went up to Carnoustie and Panmure to do one of these 36-hole adventures. So this time we decided to do a different set of courses, and we went to London and Leven Links. 36 holes. They used to be joined back historically when they first opened. The 2 courses ran along the seaside and stretched out over 6,500 yards in the 1850s, is what we were told. And I don't know about you, but they didn't have baladas, or they didn't have these 3-piece balls going for miles like they do now. So 6,500 yards must have been awfully impressive back in the day. So we started off in the morning. We went to London Golf Club, and London Golf Club here, nice easy scorecard to read. About a 6,400 yard course from the back. Very friendly pro shop as we found in every course we played. Nice enough that they kind of overlooked that we may have been about 2 or 3 minutes late, because it is a little bit difficult to find off the road. You end up, if you follow your GPS, this is a good tip for you. It's a good idea to put the pro shop in for each golf club in your GPS rather than the golf course. Because the GPS that we had, Kingsbarns, we ended up on the beach, and London Golf Club, we ended up at London Ladies Golf Club, which is fine, and maybe down the road we'll be able to play there. But for now, it's a good idea. We learned probably about on the 4th or 5th day. If you put in the pro shop of the golf course, then you're going to have a better. You'll end up getting better directions. But the golf course itself, first few holes routes along the water. The day we played, which was on a Tuesday, as we said, arguably the best weather day that we've seen, and according to the locals at the pub later on that night, arguably the best day they had seen all year. About 60, it was almost a frost warning almost some frost in the morning time, because it was just about 35, 36 degrees, certainly the coldest day that we started. But by the end of the day, temperatures were about 60 degrees Fahrenheit, not a cloud in the sky, and not a breath of wind. And they said for mid to late October, they said this is not something that they see too often. So we were quite fortunate enough to have a great weather day to do this 36 holes. Like I said, the first few holes routes along the water, then it starts moving inland. It starts becoming more of a parkland golf course, but you always still have a little bit of the views, because as you get into the round, like the 10th, 11th, 12th holes, they rise up to the top of the hill. And it's quite fascinating. It's a bit of a hike as you're getting up there. But once you get up there, the views are stunning. You see the entire 18 holes ahead of you. You can still see part of the 11 links golf course, which we'll get to in a second. But as the course routes around, it's you always have a view of the water. Again, conditions fantastic at the golf course, as we found with all of our golf courses, and it played very well. I believe it's the fourth hole of the London golf course is up against the fifth hole of the 11 links.
Yeah.
There's about a 2-foot high rock wall that was basically divided the golf course. Probably more than a century ago, I believe. So it's interesting. You almost have to, figure out who has the right of way when you're playing on the two holes. We took a couple pictures of it where we're playing one of the par threes on our course in Leven later on in the afternoon, and we have a gentleman playing alongside of us on the London course. It was quite interesting to say, okay, you're away. So
yeah,
had a nice. That's where we picked up a nice lunch there. We're able to meet again with some of the locals inside the restaurant, and they were kind enough to tell us that we'll go enjoy 11 in the afternoon. And we actually kind of ran into him in a way at the Dunvegan later on that night, because that was his local watering hole in the evening. So it was kind of neat.
It was. Yeah, let's talk about 11 links.
11 links. So 11 links to get over from London Golf Club to 11 links. It was took us I think about 15 minutes, but we did have to ask for directions because the signposting wasn't exactly what we expected when we got there. In another very similar situation to London, it ends up taking you to Scooney Golf Club if you put 11 links in the GPS for some reason. So there is yet another golf course that you pass in between the two, amazingly enough, but that's a shorter parkland golf course. Once we got to 11 links, again, great gentleman at the PGA Pro Shop took care of us, gave us the routing, told us exactly what to expect, and said, try to hurry back because the 18th hole is certainly worth it. It's one of the hardest golf holes I think we played all trip.
Yeah, you're not kidding with the right in front of the green there is disaster. Yeah. Not good. You got to get it over there, and it's a long hole too. You got to get it up on the green. So they got to burn in front of the green there, and it's long. But yeah, we finished it barely, didn't we?
We finished it. There was not too many people around, other than a couple of the locals walking their dogs in the evening. But we did get 36 holes in. It was a bit of a challenge, but it was fantastic. It was good golf played, really by everybody, pretty much everybody on that particular round of golf. It was nice to finish up a tough day. And again, not having to worry about too much of a drive back to St. Andrews. I think, again, about 25 minutes or so from the London 11 Links area back into St. Andrews.
Right. Okay, next day without Joe.
Yeah, so Joe had a nice 5 o'clock wake-up call to head back to the States. So the three of us, Brian, Mike, and I, loaded up the minivan, loaded up all of our bags. But we had another lucky break that we got in the ballot again for the old course. And so we were fortunate enough to have an 11 o'clock tee time for our final round in the St. Andrews area. Again, we talked about the winds changing. This day, the weather started off nice and dry, but for once, we had the wind going kind of left to right and into us on the front nine. The one good thing about that is there's a couple things. One, if you're hitting the ball left to right, or you're playing a fade and you get that wind, it can make for a really hard first 7 holes. If you're not on top of your game, it can make for some really interesting shots. Right. But it does give you some hope that the back nine will play a little bit easier. And in this particular day, it was stunning what the difference was from the front to the back. Again, I think with that particular wind, you're looking at about a 5-shot difference. You probably play to your handicap on the back nine, which is the tougher nine, I think. Right. I think it's easier to play to it. I believe, in fact, all three of us, I think, shot 39 on the back, including we saw a birdie on the 17th hole, road hole by Brian, which was great, and I birdied the 18th hole, and I couldn't have been more happy to walk off that golf course.
Yeah. Well, that was the day when I decided I was going to play everything on the ground. And yes. I learned a lot that day. Boy, I hit some good shots. And, us over here in America, we always want to hit it up in the air because that's the way we play. Well, the wind was blowing so bad, I decided to punch everything and roll it up on the greens. And what's amazing about the old course, we haven't talked about this, is how many times you have shared greens and how big the greens are. I mean, you could have literally a 100-yard putt, couldn't you, Jeff?
Yeah, we saw that. You can see it on the 8th hole, par 3. If you hit ball way out to the right, there's you're playing with the 10th green. Basically, the way the double greens work, if you think about it, other than 1 and 18, or excuse me, 17, 1 and 18, almost all of them are shared greens for the most part out there. And most of them will match up. So, like if you're hitting to the 2nd green, you have the 16th green off to your left. So everyone adds up to 18. 2, 16, 3, 15, 4, 14, etc. It is amazing. I mean, yeah, if you can, you may hit 16 greens in regulation, but the length of your birdie putts may be well over 500 yards by the time everything's said and done. If you're hitting it a little bit offline, or if the wind just takes your ball. Yep. It's very interesting. I'm not sure I have one with me, but each day, here we go. Each day, the old course gives you a yardage marker there. There we go. And it tells you, how many yards you have to the front end of the green, or how many yards back the pin is from the front of the green, and that's where all the sprinkler heads or all the course yardage markers are measured to. It's to the front of the green. We're used to in the United States mainly about the center of the green. So if you see 150 on the plate, that's the start. You're 150 yards from the front of the green. Some of these greens we saw on the second day, the second round we played, for instance, the 5th hole par 5, I believe it was sitting 68 yards back from the front of the
Yeah, it's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, how big these greens are.
Yeah, and the one caddy we had that was caddying, we had a single gentleman from Minnesota that joined us for our second round there. And he had taken a caddy, and the caddy said that there's some days you'll see 90 on that thing because it's over 100 yards long at that particular green. So that's just amazing. You're looking at that and say, hey, all right, you got 150 to the front, and then you see 60 or 90 or whatever. It's like, oh, well, it's a lot more. You may hit a 9-iron or an 8-iron 150 yards to that number. You need to go a little bit higher. So.
Right. All right, let's talk about the next day.
Okay, well, so Wednesday we get done the round of golf around 3:20 or so. We take our pictures at the Swilcan Bridge, of course, because not only are you as the golfer out there allowed to do that, as long as you're not impeding play, you can be a regular tourist and once the golfers go through, if you see that they're still putting out on the 17th hole, you can run out there. It's it's very close to the local city streets there in St. Andrews, so you can get your own picture there if you don't happen to ever get a chance to play the old course, or if you're over there with a spouse that plays and you don't, for instance. If you want to have a picture together, they do afford that. So after we did our pictures and we packed up the minivan, and we, for our last 3 nights, we decided to stay at a fine bread and breakfast lodge down in the North Berwick area. And so it was about an hour and 40 minutes with the traffic that we ran into to get down to the town of North Berwick, which this was kind of our find the last trip we did 5 years ago. We had one day to the south of or to the southeast of Edinburgh, and we had a Muirfield North Berwick 36 holes. And to a person, that was our highlight of the first trip. The Kingsbarns Trail was a great trip. It was a great 36-hole day. Muirfield North Berwick, I don't think you're going to outdo that. Muirfield itself was by far the most difficult golf course, the most beautiful golf course that it demanded your attention. You had to keep it straight there. North Berwick, that was our just. God, what a stunning golf course!
Right on the water, and I mean, it's fantastic. One of my favorites there.
Yes.
You have the hotels right along there as well, right on the water. It was in great shape. I mean, that 17th green at North Berwick, unbelievable. You have to get to 17 and play the 17th green.
Yeah, well, not the 17th. The 16th is the one with the big
16 with the
16,
hump in it. Yes.
Yeah, 16 with the large swale in the middle of it.
Yes, I've never seen a green like 16.
Yeah. 17 is its own little challenging part up the hill to a bowl. So I'd say North Berwick again starts out along the water. First couple holes, the way. The last 3 rounds we played out there, the winds were kind of opposite of what the normal prevailing wind is out there. So North Berwick usually is, you can get it going out because you usually have the wind with you. Well, in this particular case, we had the wind against us.
It was tough, right, on the front.
Number 2 and number 3 play normally, let's see, on the card, they play 429 and 476 as par 4s. They were playing par 5s both days, or both holes, because you were dead into the wind. And 476 par 4 into the wind is not fun.
No.
It's a challenge. So those are where you had to get off to a good start. You probably you were suffering the first 8 holes going into the wind, and then the course starts routing back. And while the back nine is usually shorter on the scorecard, and it's playing really short because you have the wind behind you, getting the ball to stop near the green then becomes a little bit of the challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the features, North Berwick from I believe it's 13 from 14 on. 14 is the one. I got to think about this one now. 13. 13 is the one that's got the rock wall that kind of separates the green and the fairway.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very, very cool.
Architecturally, pretty much from the 13th hole into the 18th is just something to marvel. You have the feature of the rock wall going through basically the right side of the green on 13. On 14, you have a completely blind second shot, and it's a short shot that you can actually land probably about 30 yards short and roll it up onto the green, and that's probably the better way to play than flying a sand wedge back to to wherever the pin may be. 15 is the world famous Redan hole, par 3. This is what A.W. Tillinghast used to design the number 2 at Somerset Hills, for instance, and many a architect has studied that particular par 3 and put their own little spin on it. It's so incredible to play. And what's fun about that? I mean, it's a blind par 3 basically from the tee box, and we all think we hit decent shots, and we actually all ended up walking off with pars, which was one of my goals, at least on this particular round. But then we watched the gentleman and his wife playing behind us, and he hit a shot that looked great in the air, and it hit right around the beginning of the green, and he rolled all the way off the end, because that's the way the course was designed for it to roll that way. So it was quite fascinating to see it from not only the tee box, but then to look back and to see how it gets played by another individual. Fascinating stuff. And then we won't talk about the 18th hole, but I apologize to whoever had the vehicle down on the right-hand side. We won't get into that.
Oh, it was good stuff.
Anyway.
Really good stuff. The other thing at North Berwick, which is pretty cool, is the Pro Shop.
Pro Shop, yes. Sunken into the hill.
Yeah, it's really neat.
Yeah, really neat. Really neat setup there. Fantastic Pro Shop, actually. Amongst the best we saw on the trip. Very friendly folks in there. Some nice deals, actually. You can actually get used golf clubs in there as well. So if you're looking when you're on a trip abroad and you don't like what you're playing with, perhaps the Pro Shop may have something that you fancy.
Got some stuff. Okay, what's up next?
So, well, one of the things we'll say about the North Berwick area, the town is quite small. Itself, seaside town, but it has a great golf course. It also has it has the Glen Golf Club, which is another one that's on our to-do list for a potential third trip down the road. If you have your spouse or your significant other along with you on the trip, there's a lot of nice little shops along High Street in North Berwick that you could spend a good portion of the day with. Our last day there, in fact, we spent a couple hours doing our shopping for our kids and spouses there. So it was it's a nice little break from the routine. If you have a fairly early morning tee time and you have the afternoon and you don't have anything planned, it's a nice place to go walk around. There's Thai restaurants. There's you have the old house or the old house that's nearby you can walk to. There's a few places that you can eat or go to the Golfers Rest and have a pint. So a nice place there. Where we stayed it was a little bit different than staying in St. Andrews, where you're done playing golf and you're walking to your hotel. This place we had to drive to, but the Golf B&B Lodge there, was Emma and Tom were wonderful hosts. Keep an eye on their son, Callum Hill, who plays out on Oregon State. Good golfer, apparently, and a name to kind of watch in the future. The nice thing about that is if you do want to go, you have a couple options there at the lodge. Get a fine breakfast in the morning. For dinner, there's a couple options. We ended up, I believe it was the Nether Abbey restaurant a couple nights, and we were treated by a wonderful staff there. Great food, a nice pub atmosphere. Always good if you do happen to go there to get a reservation in advance. It will book up. It's quite a popular
it was a busy
spot.
Place. It was busy, wasn't it?
It was, and then at the same time, one of the nights, the night we played North Berwick, instead we ended up deciding to go into the city of Edinburgh, and trains run from North Berwick itself. It's about you can get the express ones; they run about 35 minutes. I think inbound we took about 45 minutes going into the city itself. And then came back. They have trains running the majority of the night, so you can look it up online on Scottish Rail and have a good night out around the town. If you don't want to just have a complete golf trip and you want to see some sights, it was the first time Brian and Mike, I know, for instance, had gone through the city, so it was a good night out.
What a beautiful town!
Yeah.
Castle up on the hill, and just all the buildings, all the stonework. It was gorgeous. Really cool place to go. We had dinner there. It was good. All right, next.
The final round of the trip. So everybody has their go-to places, so to speak, we had a couple of different options down on the last day that we were looking at. The Glen, as we mentioned, was one. Glen 1 and 2 are another option. about or when we did the trip 5 years ago, I started looking at the maps and started looking at different golf courses and how they were ranked and what people thought of it. And we found the Dunbar Golf Club, and everybody has, like I said, a set rotation, or they try to keep things somewhat close. Well, Dunbar for us was about another 25 minute drive.
Not far.
And it goes out a little bit further to the east and to the south of North Berwick. And I'm not saying it's off the beaten path, but it's well worth the visit. It was an open qualifying site for local qualifying for, I believe, for Muirfield. Again, fantastic pro shop, wonderful PGA professionals that were there that gave us a good sense of how to or what to expect of the course. Starts off with a couple of par fives right off the bat. So you're par five, which is pretty rare.
It was strange, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then a par three that routes back to the with the pro shop in view on all three holes. It kind of surrounds it, and then you cross a little brick wall, and then you start playing on the seaside. And for the seaside, routing holes 4 through 17, it's a great layout, fantastic layout. I was really glad it turned out the way it did. Looking at, you can look all over the internet. There are fantastic websites over there that'll show you some of the golf courses. The golf course itself has a wonderful website. You can see how some of the locals rate it, and we're really happy with this. I mean, nice layout, good tough track. Conditions were phenomenal. The greens putted well. We had again a little bit of an opposite wind, so some of the holes that normally play a little bit would normally play downwind were a little bit tougher into the wind. But holes I want to say it's around 11, 12, 13, and 14 route a little bit of a higher have a little bit of a higher elevation. They overlook it goes right down to the water, and it's a gem.
Yeah, what a great find, right? I mean, we're like, wow, this place is awesome when we got there. Beautiful.
I actually think Dunbar, if you're gonna centralize yourself in the North Berwick area, I think Dunbar is a great course to set yourself up for an opening round or the final round. The reason I say the opening round is that if you're going to situate yourself in Muirfield, North Berwick, Gillane, Royal Musselburgh, you have all these courses. They're really close together. They're all within about 10 to 15 miles and really along the same road. Dunbar, again, a little bit off the beaten track, a little bit further out. But I believe it's the A1, you go out there, or the A720. I have to look at the map again. But if you start off going from the airport and that's your first golf course right off the bat, you're starting off with a couple of par fives where you can score, and it's not not a really tough golf course to have to to dive into. I think that's actually a really good starting golf course or a really good finishing golf course. And for us, it ended up being the finishing golf course, and we couldn't have been happier. Nice meal at the end of the round. Most of the courses will, of course, invite you in to their restaurants or to their lounges, and treat you as if you're a member for the day. I think that's one of the rewards we get from going over to play all these golf courses in Scotland. Is it's the people you meet are fantastic. The stories you hear are great. The food is better than you expect, and the pub atmosphere, the pub life's not too bad as well.
It is. You're not kidding. I mean, for us guys that have worked in the golf business, and to go there and to see the home of golf and see how much different it's played there than here, how much different the game is treated over there than here. Yeah. It's just a fantastic place, don't you think? I mean, I do.
Yeah, I do. It's I've enjoyed Links Golf Course. Some people say, "Oh, this isn't for me." I don't hit the ball low enough. Every shot requires you to think, sometimes overthink. But at the same time, you're not used to I'm not gonna say the cookie cutter swing that you have to hit it high, you have to hit it land soft, you have a little itty bitty perch to hit to. this is one you can let your imagination run wild. You can pitch the ball, you can chip the ball, you can putt it from 30 yards short of the green. You have that ability. Whatever your strength is as a golfer, or whatever you think your strength is as a golfer, you play to it. You figure out ways to score. Not everybody is going to hit the ball, 300 yards, and not everybody's going to hit the ball, sky high and land it on a dime. There are ways to score over there, and it really is. I think it's what makes links golf so much fun over there.
I think you're right. I mean, very few forced carries anywhere we played, right? Where you have to carry it over the junk and then to the fairway. And that's,
I would think 11 links, or 11's 18th hole.
11's
I think
right.
But that's. That is what it is. That's a different golf hole. But yeah, for the most part, you have the ability, especially at the old course, you have the ability to run it up on almost every hole.
Yeah.
That's the way the golf balls were designed back, well before our time.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap up this podcast here with the Mike Fay Golf Show, all about Scotland and our trip. And we hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did, reliving what had happened. You can follow us definitely on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at Mike Fay Golf. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Mike Fay Golf Show. This has been a Mike Fay Golf production. Follow us today on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are Mike Fay Golf, Team MFG.